guys, welcome to my newest video for today. For today's video I'm going to be doing what I've been watching, and I've kind of been inspired to start back up my movie wrap-ups, but I'm not going to be doing them every month. I'm going to be doing them like every few months or until I've got enough movies to talk about. So for this video I'm just going to be talking about the movies that I've watched in May and June. So I'm just going to get straight into it. And to start off with, I have a rewatch. I rewatched Game Night, which is one of my favourite comedies from the last few years. Then I've got a few first time viewings, and there's a bit of a theme with this one. So first one was Lego DC Batman Family Matters. I really enjoyed this. This was such a fun Bat Family movie. Yes, I would have liked it if they'd at least included Tim Drake, because he got a mention, but he wasn't actually seen. So if he'd been in the movie, that would have been perfect, and it sort of had a different take on Red Hood's origins, because obviously this was more aimed for kids, but yeah, his origin story is probably a bit too dark and graphic to do in Lego form, so they did change it up a bit, but I thought the change actually worked quite well for this. So yeah, so I watched that one. And then this isn't really a movie, but I did watch Holy Musical Batman from that Star Kids did, I think in 2012. I'd never actually seen this before, and like my previous experience with Star Kids was the Harry Potter musicals, which I loved, and I absolutely loved this musical. I've actually had the dynamic duet on repeat, like basically since I first saw this, so it's like one of my favourite songs out of the musical, so that one. And then I watched Batman Under the Red Hood. I read the graphic novel a couple of months prior, and I watched the movie adaptation. Fantastic movie adaptation. Yeah, obviously it's not a direct, like it's not directly adapted from the source material, because there's some plot lines and that didn't get included in the movie, but I thought with what they worked, like how they told the story, I thought it was done quite well. So yeah, and it was quite interesting watching it, because Jensen Ackles actually does the voice of Jason Todd, Red Hood, in this film. So yeah, it's kind of interesting like hearing it, and it's like comparing him to Dean, like from his like Supernatural and that. But so it was kind of amusing in that regard. But yeah, I loved Batman Under the Red Hood. Then I rewatched Hunt for the Wilderpeople, which is one of my favourite Taika Waititi films, and yeah, it's just such a great story. Yeah, it's just, I love the relationship between Ricky and his uncle, and yeah, just all the shenanigans that they get up to while they're lost in the bush. So but so that was that one. Then I finally watched Portrait of a Lady on Fire. Such a fantastic film, definitely worthy of the hype. I'm trying to watch more foreign language films, so like between this and Parasite, and yeah, just sort of broadening my like film repertoire. But I'm definitely up for checking out more foreign language films, so hopefully in the next coming months I'll actually be able to watch a few more. So yeah, so that's Portrait of a Lady on Fire. Then I watched Teen Titans The Judas Contract. Really enjoyed this one again. This one was quite interesting, because the Judas Contract actually was like the comic book was written in the 80s, so it's very much a product of its time, because that was like one of the very first graphic novels I read at the start of the year when I was getting into my current comics obsession. And yeah, so it was very interesting reading something that was so definitely 80s and that, but I thought it was quite, how they adapted it for the DC animated universe was quite interesting, because obviously in this one you have Damian as Robin, so he's not in the, like, obviously in the original source material, but I actually really liked how they worked him and Nightwing's relationship in this. And yeah, so I sort of kind of like seeing that aspect of it. And then also I loved Nightwing and Starfire's relationship in this. It was perfect. Yeah, I loved all the innuendo and things like that, and yeah, I just really liked how they explored the relationship in this one. So it's got, that's Teen Titans Judas Contract. And then I watched randomly It's a Mad World. I liked this one up until the ending, because the ending, I think, I don't know, it just kind of fell flat with what was going on. It has a great cast, like, I really enjoyed the cast in this, but yeah, the story, like, overall just kind of, it just ended, and yeah, I didn't really like the ending, so, yeah, it kind of took away my enjoyment of, the actual story. And also, randomly, it was this, because I watched this in May, and it was the second thing I'd seen Ethel Merman in, because I'd been, well, spoiler alert for my next lot of Tracy Talks TV, but I watched the 1960s Batman TV show, and she had a guest appearance in a couple of the episodes, so it was kind of interesting watching that, and then watching her in this movie, like, because it's so close together, but, yeah, it's just a bit randomness. And then I watched Taylor Swift City of Lover concert. I really enjoyed this. I do love Taylor Swift's music, and this was like just a really relaxed, like, yeah, it's just something nice and easy to listen to and watch. It's a very short concert, but yeah, I really liked listening to this one. And then, or like listening and watching rather, but yeah, I thought it was like, because a lot of it was more like stripped back. It was like very like the songs were more acoustic. Is it acoustic? Is that the right word for it? But yeah, I really did like the concert. So no, and then I watched Batman Hush. You'll notice there's a bit of a theme with these. At least in May, there's quite a lot of Batman that I watched. Yeah, this one, it was interesting because, again, I'd watched, I've read the graphic novel Hush, and they changed quite a bit of the story. I mean, I know obviously they've got a shorter time frame to do it in, but they changed the ending like pretty drastically. So, and I know a lot of people were upset by that change, but I think knowing that it was like a different ending, I think that kind of prepared, like, I didn't know the ending, but I knew it had been changed, so I was sort of expecting that one. But yeah, I really enjoyed this adaptation. And also I've randomly started becoming a bit of a Batman and Catwoman shipper, which I wasn't expecting, but yeah, I really liked their relationship in this one. So that was Batman Hush. And then I've watched The Lighthouse, since I'm trying to watch as many Robert Pattinson movies as I can before the Batman next year, you know, if it still comes out next year with everything going on. But this was a really interesting story. It was very, like, eerie, and I liked sort of how it was took place all in this, like, lighthouse. Just the one location. Yeah, it's very creepy, atmospheric, and yeah, it was, I really liked, who is it, Willem Dafoe, I think. Yeah, he was, like, him and Robert Pattinson worked really well together, and it was, like, sort of interesting seeing the deterioration of the relationship on screen and that. So, yeah, it's a very interesting movie to watch. Then I rewatched Jumanji: Welcome to the Jungle. I just really enjoy, it's not really like a reboot type thing, but I like the newer take on the Jumanji film, so this was just a lot of fun to rewatch. And then I checked out Stuber, which I never got to at the cinema last year, so I finally checked it out. It was a decent action comedy, nothing like, you know, super amazing, but, you know, if you're after you have a spare couple of hours to fill in and want to watch something that you don't have to take too seriously, it's sort of like one of those type of movies. So, yeah, and then I finished off May with rewatching Jumanji: The Next Level. Yeah, this one was sort of interesting because it was one of the first movies that I saw at the start of the year at the cinema before, you know, everything shut down. So it's sort of interesting going back to this one and rewatching it, having like, yeah, seen it back in January, and it was like how different the world was at that point. But yeah, it's I don't know whether I like The Next Level more than Welcome to the Jungle. I did like all the world building that they did in the sequel, and I'm definitely interested in the third one, or fourth one, I think it's technically the fourth one. But yeah, so sort of seeing where that left off. But yeah, I sort of liked the different take with them being in different avatars and things like that. So, but yeah, so now going into June, I rewatched Free Fire. It had been a few years since I'd seen it, and I think I definitely appreciated this more on a rewatch. It was definitely a lot, like there's some things that I didn't remember what happened in this, but I didn't remember it being like that funny when I first watched it, and then I rewatched it and I was like, oh, this is actually like a bit different to what I remembered. But I'm glad I did rewatch this, because it's yeah, because I don't think I appreciated it as much the first time round. But yeah, one thing I will say is it's got a great start and a great, like, sort of the second half of the movie, but there's like half an hour in the film where it feels like it's just sort of dragging, because I know this is more where they're setting up like the exposition and what's going down, but I really feel that sort of takes out of the film, and I think that's what why I sort of tuned out the first time I watched this. But yeah, it's a decent action, like an action thriller, and I like that it sort of mostly takes place in the one location. But yeah, it's I think I'll probably need a few more, like, to fully appreciate the film, like just another couple of rewatches, because it's a very interesting film. But yeah, it's just that sort of that half hour, it sort of really takes it out of the movie. But yeah, and then I watched another one of the DC animated movies, and that was the Justice League, the Flashpoint Paradox. I have read the I did read Flashpoint a few years ago, just before the Flash sort of covered that in, I think it was season 3, was that when they did the Flashpoint storyline. But this was an interesting movie, because it was a lot darker, like, than I was expecting it to be, and which I know, like, these animated ones are a lot darker in the with the film, like, because like with the materials and that they adapt from and that. But yeah, it was sort of in, you know, watching it, it was like really, there's actually some really brutal moments in this movie, and there was one of them I wasn't, because like I can't remember if it happened in the graphic novel or not, but there's a scene with Wonder Woman and Shazam, and that was like really unexpected. So when that happened, I was just like, huh. I was like, okay, wasn't expecting that level of brutality. But yeah, I thought this was yeah, done quite well, and yeah, I sort of loved sort of seeing the Flash realize what's going on, and like trying to figure out a way to get back to his like own timeline, and yeah, it's just everything that unfolded. So that one, and then I ended up starting a Marvel movie rewatch, because I wanted to so my plan is to sort of rewatch the Marvel movies like once a week, and then hopefully Black Widow is still going to be released in November, but yeah, the way things are going, it's like not really holding my breath on that one. But if it's still released in November, yeah, I want to rewatch the Marvel movie. So I've rewatched Iron Man, Incredible Hulk, Iron Man 2, and Thor. Yeah, it's just, out of this first batch, my favourite is definitely Iron Man, because it's like, you know, the one that started it all and sort of set everything up. Incredible Hulk and Iron Man 2 I do enjoy, but it's like I definitely each time I rewatch them I do like them more, because I know when it's like I first like watched them, it's like I didn't think they were as good as Iron Man, but I do like them as their own like movies and that. Like they've got some good moments going for them and that, but yeah, not among my favourites of the MCU. And then yeah, Thor I have a bit of a soft spot for, because it was basically the first Marvel movie I ever saw in the cinema back in 2011, and yeah, it's sort of, and it also basically started my whole, like, I want to go to the movies more frequently and, you know, watch as many movies on the big screen as I can, because up till that point, I didn't really go to the movies all that often, which I know sounds crazy that once upon a time, you know, I didn't really get out to the cinema, but yeah, Thor basically changed that, because yeah, I loved seeing Thor on the big screen, because we saw it in 3D, and you know, I went with my aunt, because I was staying down in Sydney while it was on, so I just have a lot of good memories seeing Thor like on the big screen. And yeah, so I think I like this one more than what a lot of people do, so but yeah, so that's basically yeah, I started a Marvel rewatch, so that one. Then I watched Artemis Fowl, which I know a lot of people hate. I've never read the books that it's based on, so, because I think this did come out around, was it 2001 that this came out? Because I was probably, like, a bit in the older age group for, like, it wasn't aimed at, books weren't really aimed at me, so I don't think I bothered, like, I really checked them out. But I was interested to watch this movie because obviously this was meant to be getting a cinema release, and then it got dumped onto Disney+. I don't know if it's just me, but I actually kind of enjoyed this film. It was, yes, at its, there's too much, like, I will admit there was, like, too many storylines going on and things like that, and it's probably, I think, from some reviews that I've seen, they said it's not faithful to the source material at all, so if I'd maybe been familiar with the actual, like, the book series and that, I may have felt differently, but as someone who hasn't, like, didn't really know much about Artemis Fowl going in, I thought it was just a fun watch. It was, yeah, not the most amazing thing I'd ever seen, but it also wasn't the worst thing I've ever seen, so, yeah, so that was, like, my take on Artemis Fowl. Then I watched a movie called Lizzie. This is about the Lizzie Borden, is that her name? The murders from, like, the mid-1800s in America, where she was suspected of killing her parents, like, pretty brutally in the thing, but she basically got, because, well, this one, it basically, because it's like, I don't think they've ever proven who actually killed the parents, but this one basically set it up that she was responsible for it, because, yeah, there's a few different takes. Like, as I know I read a book a few years ago. I didn't really like the book, but yeah, that one sort of explored the different, like, who was involved and, like, how it could have happened and things like that. But this one, it was, yeah, quite interesting, because it was like Lizzie's relationship with the maid, and sort of how they basically conspired to bring about this plot. So I thought that one was quite interesting, but yeah, I thought it was a different look into like, what happened. So that one. Then I rewatched Godzilla King of the Monsters. So this one I actually got to watch in 4K, which so I never got to it at the cinema last year, but yeah, this one I wanted to. I was just randomly in the mood to rewatch it, and I had access to the 4K TV, so I thought, you know what, I'm going to see what it's like on, you know, with surround sound and things like that. And yeah, it was pretty awesome, just sort of watching it in that format. Yes, the story is, because I think when I first saw it, I actually quite enjoyed, like I really enjoyed it, and then after sort of, when you sort of watch it, and then it, with what actually happens in the movie, it's, yeah, I think my enjoyment lessened a bit, because it doesn't really, I don't think it really holds up on rewatch all that well. I think I may still prefer it to the first one, and I'm definitely interested still in, is it Godzilla vs. Kong, which I know got moved back to next year, so it's not coming out in November, so that's one of the November movies that got pushed back. But yeah, I did think it's sort of interesting how they sort of set it up for all these battles with what are they called, the Titans, the different creatures. So yeah, I did sort of like that aspect of it, and yeah, with the different groups and stuff. But yeah, I definitely think it's one of those movies, like, it's not going to hold much rewatch value for me, so I probably won't be rewatching it as often, that one. But yeah, I did like seeing it in yeah, the 4K like format, so that one. Then I rewatched A Funny Thing Happened on the way to the forum. One of my favourite musicals, and yeah, one of my favourite musical adaptations, so this was, yeah, just a lot of fun to rewatch. And then I had never seen Bill and Ted, which might sound like surprising for some people, like, because I knew, like, obviously, like, some of the pop culture references to these movies, and I know recently the trailer for the third one dropped, and I think at this stage the third film is meant to be coming out at the end of August, because it got pushed back, because Tenet got pushed back, and that. But I thought, you know what, I'm going to finally sit down and watch these movies. So I watched Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure and Bill and Ted's Bogus Journey. I enjoyed the heck out of both of these movies. I enjoyed Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure more, because I really liked them going to the different historical time periods and, you know, kidnapping all these historical figures for their history report. So I thought that was a lot of fun. I did enjoy the second one, because it's sort of with, you know, like them teaming up with Death and, like, the Grim Reaper and all of that, and trying to win this Battle of the Bands competition. I did like that, but because the actor, I can't think of the actor's name at the moment, but because there's one line right at the end of the film where Death basically goes to the police, "Oh, book him, Deno," and I later found out that the actor actually played Steve McGarrett's father in the Hawaii Five-0 remake, which I thought was kind of interesting, considering, like, this movie came out, what, 91, so it's, yeah, that he had that line from, you know, Hawaii Five-0 before he was, like, even in the show. I thought was actually quite interesting, and I'm probably the only one who finds that amusing, but anyway. So yeah, I did finally sit down and watch the Bill and Ted film, so that one. And then the last movie that I have to talk about, it's certainly not least because I absolutely loved it. I finally sat down and watched Onward, and I don't know if it was because when I watched it, I was actually not 100% at the time, because I was like, had a bit of a head cold, but this movie really messed with my emotions watching it, because it's like, I was watching it, it's like, oh yeah, this is like a fun adventure story, and then there's, like, I think right about the third act, and the waterworks started, so, because, yeah, and I'm not a person who generally tears up in movies, but this movie just, it just hits you in the, like when you're watching it, like, you're not expecting it to, and then suddenly it's like, bam, and you're like, oh, okay, this is happening. So, I mean, I would have liked to have seen Onward at the cinema, which, because obviously Australia never got, like, because this was meant to come out at the end of March, and by that point, obviously, all the cinemas had shut, so, yeah, never got the chance to see this at the cinema, so, this was another one I sort of watched, like, on the big screen, like our big screen at home, so, but yeah, I'm glad I finally did sit down and watch it, because it was, yeah, it was a great movie, and, yeah, one of my favourites out of the few 2020 films that I've managed to see so far, so there we go. And that is everything that I've watched movie-wise in the last couple of months. I will have a link to my letterbox down below if you're curious to see what else I've been checking out, because I just thought, rather than sort of try and do, like, every movie that I've watched this year, I'll just sort of start from last couple of months, and and basically this is how I'm going to do this type of series. So I'll probably do another one in either a couple of months, or if I end up watching quite a few movies, I'll do it sooner. But yeah, that's basically the plan for this type of video. So I'm just going to stop it here, and thank you guys for watching, and until my next video, I will see you guys next time.